Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna T540 top panel chainsaw. The customer complaint is that it runs sloppy. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I have no idea what runs sloppy means. Apparently it has something to do with a broken starter mechanism. I don't know. So we're going to have to look this thing over and try and figure out what he's getting at. But I am noticing that there's some bar oil. Looks like some spillage there. Kind of messy. Near the cap. You know, I'm not thinking too much about that right now. Let's take a look at this starter. So we pull the drive pulley off of there. And now we're going to unscrew the cassette for the spring. Take a look and see what this spring looks like. I suspect it's probably broken. Sure enough, it is. So, I don't have a new spring in stock. Alright? And even if I did, I wouldn't use it in this case because this customer is a regular customer. He has a lot of top panel chainsaws. When they break, or when he drops them, or they get run over, or whatever, I keep the old ones here for parts. And this used starter just happens to be the right one for this saw, and it was in a box with his name on it. So we're not going to spend any money on parts or time on labor repairing that starter. We're just going to bolt one of his used ones right on there. So we'll take a look inside the fuel tank here. We still want to figure out what runs sloppy means. You know, I don't know if this is going to be an auto-tune problem or just a fuel problem or something with the bar and chain. I have no idea. So that thing runs pretty clean. I mean, I know it's got hundreds of hours on it. I think I heard the clutch making a little bit of noise, which doesn't surprise me as with as many hours as this thing probably has on it. I want to hook it up to the computer and see if there's any error code stored in it. And part of that process is looking at the part number on the ignition coil. I need that. But when I looked at the coil, I noticed there was a lot of oil. And look at all this bar oil here. And sure enough, when I blow some air in the area of that oil, I find that there's a crack and the oil's just running out of this thing. Look at that. That's pretty bad. So when he says run sloppy, he actually meant there's a lot of mess. Bar oil mess. He maybe wiped it down before he brought it in because it didn't look quite this bad when it was sitting on the shelf, but I don't know. So let's dump this purple bar oil out of here. If you know what this brand is for this purple stuff, I'd like to know because I haven't seen it before. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I mean, the crankcase is cracked, right? You got an old saw. This is probably the first version of the T540, and we're up to the, I think, third version now. So I can't justify putting a crankcase half on here. The time, the cost. We're going to just do a temporary repair, or it'd be nice if it was a permanent repair. I don't know, but we're just going to try and do the cheapest repair we can, because that crack could keep moving and eventually work its way to the crankcase itself, the inner workings of the motor, and be an air leak rather than just an oil leak. Now, I'm going to use this product called Seal All. And you saw that first I kind of cleaned the area, then I used a grinder to rough it up. And now I'm going to use this Seal All, which I believe is, I think they actually call it a contact cement, but you can put this stuff right on a wet fuel leak and it'll stop it. I've had good luck with it. The other option would be to use epoxy. Epoxy is going to dry hard, and I'm afraid that it's just going to end up cracking. This stuff doesn't dry, completely hard like epoxy. It's a little bit softer after it's dry, and I'm hoping it'll flex enough that it won't crack. So what I'm trying to do here is push the product into the crack in the crankcase there. I mean, you saw when I was blowing on it with air and the oil was running out of there. It's a pretty good sized crack. When I shine a flashlight against it, I can see light on the other side of the crack. So there's enough gap there that I can push product through it. And after inspecting it, I could see that it did get all the way through the crack. So now here we are a few days later, and I let the stuff set up really good. But now I can't find all my hardware. You know, when you're working on something in the moment, the short-term memory is pretty decent. But after a couple days go by, boy, then the short-term memory really gets bad, So we're going to install this ignition coil. I'm happy with the way that Seal All seems to have worked on that crack. We're going to get it snugged down, and then we'll get our gauge in here, 0.3 millimeters. We'll set the air gap. You can't really see what's going on because it's all going on behind that handle, but you've seen it a million times on this channel. I don't know why I chose to use the hand tool on this. Usually I would hit it with the power tool and then snug it up, but so after I've got it tightened down, we'll pull the feeler gauge out, and then I'll double check the gap afterwards. And it looked good. So let's kind of clean up our mess here a little bit. We're going to dump that oil back in that he had. I don't know why I saved it, but normally it would have got dumped into the bin that we use for running the oil-fired heater for the shop. So now I can't find the cap. Couldn't find the screws before for the coil. I had to source those. And all of a sudden this bag appears out of nowhere. So here's our new air conductor. The other one was busted up. And what else do we got in the bag here? Hey, an oil cap. We need that. That's good. And then we have a bunch of screws. Well, I don't think I need any more screws, so what do we have here? Those two bigger screws are the ones that I should have used an ignition coil. But I guess I didn't know I had them. But then I got these other 3 screws here. And in the moment, I wasn't sure where they went. I do now know where they went. And if you were paying attention in the video, you might know where they go too. Let me know if you figured it out. So, it looks like I got a leak again. That's not good. But what really happened was when I filled that tank back up, I spilled. And it ran down the side of the saw. So we're all good. And in fact, this thing sat on the shelf for a few days before the guy picked it up, and it never did leak. So we're going to put it back together, and we'll do a test run on it, make sure everything's working the way it should, make sure the oiler system works. I mean, I have no reason to believe it won't, but when he brought it in, the air filter didn't look that good, so we're going to put a new air filter on it. And then maybe get a little bit interrupted here.
Don't have anything that sucks up insulation, do we?
Not here.
Okay.
You mean like a shop vac kind of thing?
It sucks up blown insulation.
They probably want blow insulation, right?
Well, if he had said sucks blown insulation.
It does suck insulation on one end, it blows on the other.
I said, shh, you do not. He said, really? I guess I called down here last time and got one or got pricing for one. I said, last time, like you've gotten one from us? No.
How would I give them pricing on something that's not in a computer?
I didn't know if there was something that I was oblivious to for a while, so he just made it really seem like to me that we had one.
So, and I think it was Jake who did this to me, but he never would admit it. When I worked in Green Lake, we put an ad in the paper for like free installation or something like that on something. I don't remember what it was. From Bark Mulch or something like that. Somebody called, and I thought it was a little old lady, but it could have very well been Jake doing his little old lady voice. Because I didn't work for him yet. I only knew him from the 4-wheel drive club, so I, beer drinking and talking stupid. Yeah, I'm calling about the free insulation. Like, what the hell are you talking about, lady? The free insulation, it says in the paper. It's really cold in my house and I want some free insulation.
Good chance that was Jake.
I think it might have been.
I think I could hear that voice coming from him.
So there you go. You got your story about the little old lady who needed some insulation. So that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna T540 top panel chainsaw that had a crack in the crankcase which caused it to run sloppy. Thanks for watching. Later.